Welcome everyone to our studies today. Spiritism Inspiring Lives. Ourselves and all of those in spirit who are also with us. Learners of the divine laws. Learners of the universal teachings. And as always, we start our study with a prayer in order for our help us to harmonize ourselves, harmonize our minds and our hearts. And we ask Thais to do the prayer for us, please.
Let us all unite our hearts and minds. And thank you, God, for this opportunity to be here together one more time. Also, thank you, Jesus, our guide, our master, our beloved brother, for his teachings, for his love, for his care towards us. Thank you for this opportunity, this sublime opportunity to learn, to reflect in these teachings, in these passages, in these messages that is brought by us, by the Enlightened Spirits. And He gives us so much information, so much teaching, so we can carry on and we can walk towards our progress. We thank you, the benefactor, the spiritual benefactors of this group, for preparing this ambient to receive us, for all the work towards the good that they do. We thank our spiritual guardians, our mentors, for caring for us, for all the love and patience towards us. And we ask for your help towards this study. Inspire us, help us to understand this message, to reflect together and to help each other to learn and with our inner transformation. So be it.
So be it. Welcome everyone for our study today. It is always with great pleasure and happiness in our hearts that we start these studies, which are unique experiences and moments of self-enlightenment, of enriching our souls based on the natural laws, the natural message in the universe, which helps us to understand that we are all immortal beings, children of God, essentially beings of goodness, who are on this long journey of evolution, learning every day, learning a bit more in each moment, as long as we are willing to do so, always with assistance and help of the enlightened beings as well, which we all have, the spiritual benefactors. And in order to help us or to carry on our reflections, today our theme is the law of justice, love, and charity. So in order for us to carry on our reflections, we always have some questions which will help us to go through. So we ask Severina to read the first question for us, and then Thais goes through and develops it. And everyone who is in the chat, please feel free to also engage with your comments, your questions. Go ahead, Severina.
Unfortunately, I can't see the questions. I've got either a technical problem or something, can't see them.
Can you read them, Thais, please, then, and go ahead with the developing the reason?
Yes, sure. So the first question is, what is charity and justice according to Spiritism?
Severina, close your water, please. Thank you.
So the Enlightened Spirits in the Spirit book enlighten us with the answer about charity, saying that is benevolence towards everyone, indulgence towards the imperfections of others, and forgiveness for offenses. So if we reflect bit by bit, so benevolence, when they talk about benevolence towards everyone, So it makes me reflect in what is benevolence. So the goodwill, the kindness to all, to everyone, with no exception, no exception of race, religion, belief, social status, physical appearance, or intellectual and moral progress. So it's, as it says, it's towards everyone. And then it comes to say indulgence towards the imperfection of others. And indulgence is, in my understanding, is to respect where the other is in their evolutionary path. And when I say that, I mean the moral and intellectual progress. So its tolerance is not to, for example, to highlight other people imperfections, for example, the bad tendencies that they may still have, but see them as brothers and sisters in humanity, as God sees us as their children, as his children. And then I had here a note about a book from Allan Kardec called Heaven and Hell, that he tells that, and I thought that was very related to this. He says every flaw that we have, every bad tendency is suffering for us. And then in another book, Emmanuel says that we should look at our tendencies and see why we suffer. So I was thinking about the indulgence, because we might think that it is difficult to be indulgent. It is difficult. It's a daily exercise to be tolerant, isn't it? But we can't forget that no one is perfect. We have our own imperfections, and we can't expect the other to be perfect or to be something that we can't even be, isn't it? And the other thing is that it's impossible to have any type of relationship with anyone without the exercise of the indulgence. So for the simplest fact that I said that no one is perfect. And then we have forgiveness, in which I think is directly linked with indulgence, because you may be attached to a feeling of bitterness or holding a grudge against someone because of something that happened or something they said or did to you. But we have to remember that the same way that we are working towards our betterment, improve ourselves, change our ways, we make bad choice, we hurt other people, we hurt ourselves. The other is on the same journey as well. The same way that we need their forgiveness, they will need ours as well. And then it comes about justice, the question as well. And again, the good spirits enlighten us, saying that justice consists in respecting the right of others. So respect the right of others. I think that's where it comes the fine line, because I struggle, for example, to understand where my right end and the other start, for example. And I think it's important that if we find ourselves uncertain of what to do, or if we may be disrespecting the other, or even disrespecting ourselves, is to follow Jesus and what he says, that do to others what you would like to be done to you. I don't know if anyone else would like to comment.
I like what you said to benevolence, Thais. And you mentioned that it's difficult or challenging for us to be benevolent. That is an interesting viewpoint, because if we find it challenging, because we are all in a learning process, that means that we still have the predominance of the matter over the spirit. As beings in evolution, that we are training ourselves now in order for us to be more benevolent. It is important for us to start to relate with us in a more better way, in a more compassionate way, in a more tolerant way, not tolerant in relation to our shadows, but is expanding the characters of a good person, as we so much learn about it in the gospel according to Spiritism. As more as we promote the good characters within us, we are developing actually bigger or better possibilities for us to be benevolent towards ourselves and therefore also with others. We have the presence of Joseph with us. Good afternoon or welcome with all of us. Feel welcomed, and also feel free to also engage with our studies through the chats. Can we move to the next one then?
Yeah, the next question is, are divine justice and human justice the same, or could they ever be the same? So, and I don't know if you can pass the slide, but there's a reference to the Spirit book question 875. I highlighted the bit where it says, though your current laws are not perfect, they do not concentrate the same rights as the laws of medieval era, for instance. So here they're talking about, no, the laws, the divine law and the divine justice, and the human justice are not the same. However, as we progress, as our moral and intellectual progress happens, the human justice also progress, because he makes here a comparison with the medieval era, that at that time it was justice for them, but now for us it's like terrible, is monstrous, isn't it? So we do progress, and the human laws do, the human justice do progress as well.
Thais,
So,
I have a question before you go ahead.
yeah.
What do we need to learn as immortal beings in order to come to understand that we have a human laws and divine laws, or human justice and divine justice? Does everyone on earth believe in that?
Well, I don't think that everyone on earth believe in that. First, you need to believe in the divine, isn't it? Some people don't believe in anything. However, saying that, everyone has the divine laws within themselves, even though they don't believe. It's part of us. It's in our conscious, isn't it? So I think, even though if we don't believe in anything, if we are open to not too pride to accept, we know there's something bigger than us. We know there's something divine. There's I don't know how to explain, but I think
It
it's
means
important.
that we need to come to understand that first we are not a physical body. We are immortal
Yeah.
beings. We are the spirits, as Jung already said. When we come to reincarnate through a new physical body, we come with a journal written, meaning that we come with our belief systems, with our learnings, whatever we learn. So in order for me to understand there is the human law, the human justice, and the divine laws and the divine justice, means that I as immortal being need to develop myself, to promote myself, to evolve to a point that I come to perceive myself not only as a physical body. While in the flesh, I'm a three-dimensional being, a spirit, perispirit, and a physical body. So unless I have that comprehension, unless I have that level of evolution conquered, I will not understand there is a divine law. I will not understand there is a divine justice. But yes, everyone has God's laws written within the deep unconscious, but that does not mean that all of us are conscious of it. The majority of us still don't believe in it. We are still pretty much predominated by the materialistic perspective. So it's very important to understand gradually everyone will evolve in that level of understanding, and also at the same time reflecting where I am in relation to that. Human laws, they are, let's say, not perfect in relation to the divine laws, but they follow also the evolution of human beings. They change throughout history. And as more as we familiarize ourselves with the divine justice or divine laws, which are the moral ethical laws within us, and more we choose to behave and train ourselves and get out of the vicious ways how we learned and behaved. And in that way, we also promote our consciousness in order to stimulate those values within us.
Yeah. Just making a quick link to what you said, I think it's important as well that sometimes we do understand that we are immortal beings, and we do believe and know there's the divine laws and the divine justice, but some people might think in that justice as something punitive, as a punishment. So I think it's important that we know that divine justice is not a punishment to us, is it? And when the Spiritism has a more broad understanding of this justice, in a sense that As you have more responsibility, as you have more understanding, and the weight of our choices and consequences are different, diverse from the ones that knows what they're doing, for example, and choose to do it, than those more young spirits, let's put that way, that are still in the ignorance and making erroneous choices, but they don't know what they are doing. I'm not saying there's no consequences, not that, but I think what I want to say here is that God is not punitive, God is love, and therefore whatever consequence we have for our choices is given to us according to what we need for our progress. It's not an eye to eye. You done that, then you're going to suffer the same amount. That's not that. We don't even need it to suffer, isn't it? God tried to make us progress through his love, but then we choose to make bad choices, and that's what I want to say, that whatever we go through, the suffering that we go through to learn, many times or other times, this is not related to what we've done, the amount. It's not an eye to eye thing, it's not punishment, it's love for us to learn, to progress, and to better ourselves.
And all of those who are studying with us, who understand through different pathways of religiosity or understanding God's laws or God's justice in a heavy way, it's fundamental that we understand we all went through centuries and centuries of studies which we took on what human beings were able to perceive in their understanding. When we are studying here now in relation to the divine justice, that goes beyond what human comprehensions allows. This is why we need to expand our consciousness. And even if we went through and learned about in a wrong way, which is very heavy, as Thais mentioned, very punitive, now is the moment that all of us can review, renew our understandings, our concepts, and always, as we expand our consciousness, understanding that the divine justice is based on the law of cause and effect. And that brings the power back to us. So whatever we learned, and is not in according to these natural universal teachings, we can choose now consciously to re-educate ourselves and always move on. There is no one to be blamed. It's just to understand the difference between what we as human beings interpret and present and what Jesus, which is the meeting of God, is bringing for us to humanity. I'm just aware of the time. Should we move on to the next one?
Without charity, there's no salvation. What does Spiritism means by that? Jesus never stopped to combat pride and selfishness when he was reincarnated here with us. And in the Gospel, according to the Spiritism, preaching on this lab, I find it very enlightening that all the moral teachings of Christ are resumed in the need for charity and humility. That is to say, in two virtues that are contrary to selfishness and pride. In all of his teachings, Jesus indicates these two virtues as being one that lead to eternal happiness. And that is self-explanatory, isn't it? Is while we are full of pride and selfishness, we only worry about our own sorrows and needs, or the ones close to us. We won't, while we own that, we won't be able to exercise the virtue of charity. I'm talking about the moral charity, because we do have the material charity, which is also important. We live in a world, in a material world, and we need, if someone is hungry, they need food. Someone is cold, they need something to warm them up. So it is by all means very important. But I'm talking here about the moral charity, and I think it's the more challenging one, because how do I give something that perhaps I don't have yet, isn't it? And
better
that is
than what I have.
Sorry?
Better than what I have. I just give something better than what I have. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Our attachment, isn't it? Okay,
exactly. It's the exercises, exercising every day. When you give this moral charity, you also helping yourself because you exercise that virtue as well. And yeah, and is the moral charity as Jesus understood, is not mechanical, is nothing, oh, I'll give, not because I want to show myself, I want to be a superstar, look, I'm helping everyone, and not in that way. Is in the way that we said before, the benevolence towards everyone, the indulgence towards the imperfection, and the forgiveness. And we don't have to go far for that, isn't it? We have that opportunity to exercise that in our family, in our work, in our society, social media, isn't it? And yeah, it's
As long as we choose humbleness, we can
oh,
do it.
as long as
Without,
definitely, yes,
humbleness is not possible, even at home with those worldly dear terms.
definitely. And the more we exercise, humbled, and without expecting anything to come back, we exercise our virtues, as I said, and we are progressively becoming more free of our selfishness, our pride, and our vanity, and all those imperfections. And yeah,
I
I think
think what I would say, in order, because of our time, I think as much as we train these virtuous elements or characters, as you mentioned, we actually are training and practicing unconditional love. And unconditional love does what is right, which is our duty, without expecting any kind of recompensation. And yes, the first one to benefit is ourselves always. Because of our time, should we move on?
yeah, love, justice, and charity. What does Jesus ask of us? How can we experience this law? Wow. um, Again, the gospel also enlightens us with a beautiful lesson there. And it talks about the charity being the only way of salvation again. And why? Because as we exercise the charity, we develop so many virtues, so many other virtues. We become more humble, kind, benevolent, indulgent, just, and so many others, isn't it? And that's how we can experience, as the question said, this law in our life, or we can try to anyway. And the other thing I was thinking is the practice of the charity in our existence defines our future as well, isn't it? On earth and on the spiritual world as well, because it will help us with our progress and the progress of others as well. So
I think that is when we say without charity there is no salvation. It's very important to understand for us as spirits, where we are coming from centuries and centuries of learnings. Sometimes we have been thought about salvation comes from the outside. Someone is helping me here. But when we study within Spiritism, there is no how it is charity without salvation. Salvation means there is no evolution, there is no progress without us learning to love, because charity is the love in movement. As more as we learn to love ourselves, the love that comes from God, which is unconditional, as more as we develop the ability to be altruistic, more we are engaging in the proposal of learning to be real charitable. Because I say again, charity summarizes love, and love is goodness in movement, is not only in words. And as more as we souls, spirits evolve spiritually, more we have we develop our own love, the divine love within us, and more we are cooperating for the good of everyone. That is a natural process through our awakening element in our journey. Can we go for the last?
Yeah, the last question is: not doing evil a form of charity? Would this please God? Spirit's book, the spirits are very straightforward with the answer, so no. The answer is no. And I brought this question because I think it helped me to reflect. What am I doing with this opportunity here that I'm having on earth? to reflect on the studies that we have this opportunity to learn, to share, to reflect together about the divine laws. And am I just learning, not listening and not practicing in my life, in my day-to-day things? And I think, and today being the last day of studying the laws, this is the last law that we're going to go through for now. I'm sure we'll talk again about this. But this law has a unique structure that summarizes all the laws that we've been seeing. It summarizes the law of worship, labor, reproduction, everything that we've seen it before. And they, like I said before, and they can all be found on us. It's in our conscience. So exercising the best of our knowledge, understanding our own capabilities every day, and will help to our self-awareness as well, will to better ourselves to help with our progress, with salvation that you said, our progress and the progress of others as well. And just to finish my reflection, because I'm aware of the time, I don't think we should feel discouraged by all that, because sometimes we may think, oh, but that is too much. You're asking too much. Jesus has provided so many sublime tools to help us, to guide us along the way. And we didn't reincarnate just for suffering and tribulations and, let's say, to pay our debts, let's put that way. But we also came here to build our future life, to progress. And I think we need to make sure that we use this opportunity the most that we can, and the tools that Jesus left us, the Enlightened Spirits left us so much as well. And we are never alone. We have so much help from the disincarnated and the incarnated as well. So it's up to us.
Okay, in that way, we are coming to the end of our time today and giving thanks to God for this unique opportunity, also expressing our gratitude. And as we are finalizing this study through a prayer, let's connect with the higher self within and sincerely and honestly express our gratitude for God, the creator of everything and everyone, for Jesus, the guide of humanity, for the enlightened spirits who are always with us, who even anticipated us in a dedicated, in a loving way, helping ourselves and all of those in the spirit. May we all now, as spirits as we are, give thanks to our existences, thanks to the teachings of Jesus, thanks to the teachings of the enlightened spirits who are presenting to us the natural laws, which are equal for everyone, everywhere. And we all are invited in a loving way to progress in our understanding, to renew our concepts so that we can actualize ourselves more and more according to the greatest law in the universe, which is love. Love one another, as we have been told more than 2,000 years. We also give thanks to our parents who have been the instruments allowing us to be here in the school earth to carry on our journey of progress. Our gratitude for us to be living in this country, for everything that the country offers to us. Our gratitude for us who live in different countries. Bear in mind that we are all placed according to our needs, according to our possibilities of evolving and progressing. Our gratitude for even the challenging moments in our existences, which are mechanisms to stimulate us to progress even further, to actualize our minds, to promote our hearts in goodness, in forgiveness, in benevolence, and indulgence, increasing our ability to love ourselves, to love others, to love God, to love everything and everyone, wherever we are and with who we are. And in that way, we conclude our study today, wishing you peace to all. so be it. Much peace to all, and I hope to see you soon next week at 7 p.m. in London. And for those who want to join us tonight at 8 with our study in Portuguese, Evangelho e Mediunidade em Minha Vida, feel welcome, 8 p.m. London time. In that way, we say bye-bye, hope to see you soon.